All right. Welcome. Hi,
Can you
Dee.
hear can you
Yeah.
hear me okay?
Hey.
Hi.
Finally, third time's a charm. Or
Oh
four.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. This Zoom business. I don't know.
Hey, it's the hot new thing. So if only we were behind it all.
Oh, no kidding. Please, they're making so much money right now. Oh my gosh.
How are you? What's happening? Tell me all about your creative passions during this time. Or actually, let's start from the beginning. Can you give me like a quick recap on your journey as a creative artist?
Well, yeah, hold on one second. I had to plug this guy in. We're at a very low percentage.
That's okay.
Um, my journey as a creative artist. Well,
Or
it's
you're here to talk about what you love, what you're doing that you love, what is living your life purpose. So it's all of these things. I know you've been
yeah,
dabbling in some tarot and astrology, but I mean, I want the full package and the full description of everything, how you got here,
right.
why you got here, all of it.
Well, my awakening, if you will, came about through self-induced trauma, which was addiction,
Uh-huh.
drugs and alcohol. I find that many people that sort of bloom into who they are meant to be or who they were aiming to be come to that through life events like that, a divorce, the death of a loved one, the death of a child, a miscarriage, losing a career, redefining ourselves at any time in life brings us closer to what I call source. I know we're all calling it source now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
The universe, the higher intelligence. And for me, it was re-strengthening the toolbox that I had built in childhood, which was uh, every creative endeavors, theater, song, music, visual art. I consider myself a writer now.
You're an
Now that
amazing
I'm,
writer, and I know you
oh,
don't like
thank you.
to. I know you don't like to get credit for that, and you don't like to share your posts publicly outside of your Facebook circle. But at least once a day, I want to share it to everyone I know. And I can't
Really?
wait till you create a book or a blog and a book. And
Yes.
I'm gonna keep encouraging that for the rest of forever. Side note.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Yeah. Well, there's the WordPress, right?
Uh huh.
But I feel like that doesn't really count, and it's also sort of an archaic idea because I write, with a pencil on paper, and I've never been I don't type. Like when I'm on a computer, I'm watching my fingers, not the screen. I'm very slow. Um, and I would love to get published one day, and I'd love to publish the tarot deck too. But, that's another talk. Like
Yeah.
it's frustrating because all of the uh, hurdles I put in my way, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's all just like 3D material crap. Like I don't have enough money. I don't know enough people. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's all bullshit. In this world, especially in this digital age, we can do whatever we want
Yeah.
whenever we want to. So if it ends up being a book online, so be it. You know,
Oh
I
no, it's
don't know.
gonna be bigger than that. So that's a we can.
Maybe,
There's many different segues on this, but
yeah.
no, you're far too talented of a writer, and we'll see if we can find some little snippets that I can steal and put on the blog with this. But it's interesting that you're talking about all the excuses because one of the questions I was going to ask later on was, what needs to shift for you to get out of your own way? So you kind of just
Right.
answered that.
Fear, fear. It's all fear based.
Yeah,
Every decision. Like again, it's this is one of my greatest. I think one of my lessons to learn here on planet Earth. Right. Everyone. I'm a soul inside of a vessel, and
uh-huh.
I've come here to learn a few things, to build up, to ascend. And I think one of the things is to stop comparing myself to others and judging. others. Um, I, it's I walk into a room and I automatically think people don't like me because I'm judging people. I'm saying, oh, look at the way so-and-so is dressed or the way so-and-so speaks or their vocabulary is terrible. You're not articulate. You know what I mean? Like I dislike you. And that's of course going to mirror back at me. And I assume people don't like me. Do you know what I mean? Like it's such a terrible circle that I'm really trying hard to get over by seeing the divinity in others, in people, in it's reverence for life, really. Like there's divinity in the stink bug on my lamp, and there's divinity in the homeless guy that won't leave me alone because he wants $1. Like every single person has the spark of the divine in them. And if I can recognize that, if I can see it, I can erase judgment, and that automatically erases fear and allows me to be my authentic self and come forward with a charisma that's not contrived or pushy. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
for sure.
Yeah.
And you do that, and you always have before your awakening also. So I feel like it's important to talk about, like all the massive creativity that you contain. You're one of the most creative and talented people I know, especially when it comes to um, to visual art, right? I mean, that's
Oh, thank you.
that's the thing. You have that gift, and so I wish I could include that in this little chat. But
I'm going
having
to tell you.
examples of it, I'll throw some pictures up there over the years,
Oh,
stage sets and
yeah.
things that I've witnessed. But
Nicole, I'll tell you, all of my stuff is public, so you can copy
yeah,
paste anything you like,
are
of
do
course.
well. So what I want to know also is, um, when did you really kind of like, were you an artist your whole life? Were you always this like talented
Yes.
creative? Was it just like tiny kid and it moved on, or was there some sort of like shift with that? And when did you step into that like in a bigger way?
I believe I'm going to quote Lady Gaga. I was born this way. Our astrologer friends out there will understand what I mean when I say my Jupiter is in Libra.
Uh-huh.
So I literally view space as malleable. Everything is changeable. Everything you touch, it's uh, Gemini manifester. So when I walk into a room, I want to fix it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the curse of the interior decorator. Like I see how things can be used, how things can be redefined, especially, recycled or how, pieces of trash. Human waste is everywhere. And I don't mean poopies. I mean like
Wrong, yeah,
busted,
wrong term.
you know, bu- busted old chairs and crap like that. Everything has second life for me.
Yeah.
And that was the spark of how can I reuse this? How can I repurpose this to be more interesting or approachable or palpable or decorative? And it started very early. I was I remember, Nicole, I swear to God, I was 7 or 8 years old, and we would go to my grandma's house. I'm from northern Michigan, and we'd go to my grandma's house. And she and all my parents, everybody would be chain smoking and drinking coffee in the kitchen. And I'd be in the living room, like redoing it, like moving things around, changing the art, making my own art, putting it up.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a bit of hubris, that how do I say it? Charisma, just sort of bubbled forth on its own without too much praise. I wasn't, my father didn't push me into sports. My mother didn't push me into joining clubs. I was pretty much left on my own. My mother had me when she was like 43. And
Okay.
this is 1970, this is unheard of. So both my sisters were in college by the time I was born, and I was sort of an only child. So I was left to my own devices and allowed to grow creatively, sort of at my own pace, and with the help of, teachers and mentors at school, as opposed to what my parents, thought I should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel very lucky in that sense.
Well, and how did you, like, what was your first paid gig for that? Or how did you like make that into a career? Because you really did. So like, it's not that you
Yes.
have that talent, but you were one of the few people who was able to take that gift and make it into a profession early on. So like, what was your first shift in that? Or was it lots of little things that added up to that?
It was a lot of little things, and it started in community theater of all places. Like, have you ever seen the movie Waiting for Guffman?
I don't know, probably not.
Oh my God, Google it. It's literally, that was my life as a child. Um, Community theater, I got into like set design, and costume design and so on, in my teen years, 15 to like 18. And then I went to school at Madison, University of Wisconsin-Madison, and that's where I was hired by a retailer called Urban Outfitters,
Yeah.
which, yes, in 1992, they were sort of the cutting edge of retail. Like, they were a big deal. Like, now it's almost like the hipster Walmart, but back then it was kind of like you had a bit of
It was a
cachet,
big deal back then for sure.
and I went in not as a salesperson, but under the title of, there's a position there called display. And
Hmm.
that's the person that works with the visual merchandiser, who builds all the fixtures, does the windows, makes all the signage. Everything back then was done by hand, as opposed to printed or silk screen or anything like that. Everything was literally made by hand. And that's where I cut my teeth in learning how to sort of melt or smush together the business of retail and visual art, where the two could exist comfortably and not fight each other. You know, um, I, I wasn't a museum quality artist, and I wasn't a very good student. So I didn't exactly follow the academic route at all. I got immersed in that, and I ended up working for Macy's and then Neiman Marcus, and then moving on to like Banana Republic and doing the big box stores, and
Yeah.
having a stint in the mall, and it just sort of snowballed, and I started to make a name for myself within a community of other visual merchandisers. And again, it was word of mouth back then. Now, not so much. Now, these days, in 2020, visual merchandisers and display artists are kind of dinosaurs. Retailers don't really utilize our skills anymore. Walk into an Old Navy and you're faced with enormous posters,
Yeah.
bright colors, stickers on the floor, else big screens everywhere. There's no one really dresses a mannequin anymore. So that's where I got my interest in visual space, was in the business of retail.
Well, so tell me what one of the questions is, what are you using this time of, I mean, I don't want to say sabbatical or isolation or quarantine because none of those words are really correct, but all of
Yeah,
like this current time that we're in,
yeah.
how are you using that to create new beginnings? Like when it comes to your artistic and creative ventures, or what are you working on?
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
Well,
what aren't you working on? I know you got a lot cranking, but like, tell me some of the highlights.
the highlights are, I have always wanted to create my own bag of runes.
Uh-huh.
The um
And then we can sell them at Wild Ginger when you finally come down and redo all my displays.
Yes. I'm still doing the research because I know so very little about the Nordic culture of
Yeah.
divination. The way they approach it is so unique. And by the way, a massive thunderstorm is about to occur in southeast Michigan. So if the lights go out,
Oh, there
that's
goes
it.
your full moon visibility. Such a
Oh
bummer.
my God, that's right. Tonight's the pink moon, the full moon in Libra. Very exciting.
I know. That's why I was,
Um,
was like extra excited to squeeze you into this um, tech challenge
yes,
call.
yes, I love it.
Will you
So yes,
turn your phone sideways and see if I can get your?
what does that look like?
Yes, there you go. A little bit of a wider
Is that?
screen. Should have
Oh, you
asked
can
you
see
the
my
same thing.
kitchen.
Yeah, there you go. It's okay. You're still the
Okay.
focus, but there's less sidebar.
How about this?
Perfect. As long as you're
All
on
right.
camera, that's all good. Um,
Okay.
so what are you creating runes, or like what projects are you launching? And side note, are you doing anything that you're kind of like using this time as a reset for, or a launch pad, or any sort of like
Yes,
major
absolutely.
shift outside of just the things you're already working on?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, the how does this look?
Oh, it doesn't matter. You're on camera either way, but you did just mute yourself.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Don't worry. You're fine wherever. Just don't pace around too much because then we'll all.
Okay. Yes. So where was I?
I
The
want to know
runes.
what you're cranking on during this time.
The one thing that's struck my fancy is landscaping, because the house where I live, the estate is very large, and there's a lot of us here. It's almost like sort of a sober commune.
Okay.
I own apartments, but there's an enormous garden in back that hasn't been, nobody's done anything with since maybe 2009.
Really?
And it was had weeds that were like, 6 feet tall. We ended up pulling everything, tilling the soil, and all the guys in the house are very into like planting the seeds and figuring out what food we're going to grow, and they're all kind of doing the manual labor, whereas I'm coming along behind, like, pulling up busted concrete and old stones and found wood and whatnot to sort of craft the space and create something so beautifully temporary and yet, in my mind, intellectually sound, because it's not going anywhere. It will degrade, it will grow, it will change. Again, my favorite word, mutable. This is something, it's like a moving work of art.
Uh-huh.
And I've never done anything like this, because normally all I want to do is paint, or a printmaking I was obsessed with for a while, or just small things like the tarot cards, the runes, the oracle cards, and whatnot. But this is a grand scale, and this involves physical fitness, which is so important for us, being trapped in our houses and staring at these little screens in our hand.
Yeah.
We can't go to the gym. The Y is closed, the Ann Arbor Y.
Yeah.
Can't even go in there.
Our beaches are even closed, so
that's ridiculous.
Time.
So what happens if you just walk down there? Are you going to get arrested or what?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't tried to sneak past the fences, but I mean, it sounds like, from what I've seen from the aerial photographs, there's barely anybody on there. So people are like going out, but it's not like normal. So yeah, being outside is key, and I'm glad it's finally warming up for you guys so you can do that stuff.
Yes. It's beautiful here. I mean, Michigan in the early spring, all this worms come up and you can get that smell, the worm smell. It's nightmarish, but it's cool. Anyway, so that's my new obsession right now, is
I love it.
Is taking it outdoors.
And you'll make it a work of art. I know it.
I hope so. I really hope this stuff grows.
So give me 3 words that embody your creative ventures.
Magnetic, vibratory, and calming.
All right. You want to expand on those?
Magnetic in that I hope whatever I create draws the viewer in to see themselves in it, so that I'm not dictating to them, but they can find a mirror, because I think we all mirror each other.
Sure.
And if you can find yourself in it, if you can redefine the thing you're looking at, then I've done my job. Vibratory in that I want it to, it kind of speaks to the same thing, but inspire something in you. The way like someone might craft a song, but I want to do it for your eyes. Does that make sense at all?
I think that's true with your giant works of art at times that I've
sometimes giant.
I would say that there's definitely a vibratory, like just a radiant energy with a lot of the big scale stuff you've done.
I love that. And I have to say that you as a person, like just walking around on the earth, you are those things as well, magnetic and vibratory.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you.
Yes.
Well, I love you so hard for so many years. And so many different versions of life, right? So we came from a very different version of ourselves, and here we are.
Yeah.
And that's why it was fun to be able to get you on here to talk about what you're doing, because you've kind of taken this like new spiritual path, which I've really done too, and it is such a beautiful transition, and we've come a long way.
Yeah, and it was in us all the while.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's always been there. We just had to get shaken awake to see it.
Yeah, certainly. And then is calming something that you've always tried to embody with your art, or do you think that that's like more of a this new you?
Well, I think calming speaks to the organic nature of art in itself, because how do I explain this? For me, it's therapeutic. It stops me from becoming manic. It stops me from making poor decisions. It stops me from catastrophizing or being reactionary in my own life. That's how I use it, because I can put my energy into it, and it calms me down, which makes me think, because everything we create has our energy in it, that if I go into it and create it from a calm space, then it's going to, again, like a tuning fork, hit the viewer in that same way, where they can find themselves, and it will relax them. I don't want something I'm not Warhol, I don't want something, or Steven Sprouse, that to jump off the page at you in insane colors and rile you up. I don't have any Damien Hirst in me at all.
Do you think that's settled down a little bit, like maybe in your
oh yeah I think
new life?
It's also like, it's a very adolescent position, like that's a young man's game, and I think you get it out of your system, go live in New York in your 20s, that kind of thing. Eventually we all come back, we find our plateau,
Yeah.
and what really means something in life, because life isn't all about parties until 5 a.m. all the time.
No, thank you on that.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I want to know if you have any words of advice for people that are like looking to follow their soul's purpose, or find their passion, or do what they love, both as a career and as an interest. Like,
Yeah.
what advice or words of wisdom or life hacks do you want to share? Anything?
Part of me is like, lose your preconception of success. Lose your idea of what it means to be on top. Like, you got to drop that. I'll give you an example. The other day, a friend brought me an acorn squash. I've never had an acorn squash in my life. I thought they were just, you put them on the table at Halloween. I thought it was decor. And he was like, no, just put it in the oven at 300 degrees. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll just do it, right? So I did it, and it's beautiful, right? But it was ugly as sin, and it was all mushy, and I threw it away, because I was like, well, it doesn't. I threw it away. No, wait a minute, stay with me. It was so ugly, and I was like, oh, I can't do anything right, so I threw it away. So that's me, like, giving up on something because it didn't turn out perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did it again, because I cut it in half, so there was the other half still, and I ate that one. Nicole, oh my God, it's literally my new crack cocaine. I love squash, especially acorn squash. So I put maple syrup on it and some sea salt, and then I made one with honey, and then I did one with chorizo, like, smashed in it. It was delicious. So that's just the metaphor I want to use for, like, don't give up on something because it doesn't match your perception of success.
I like it.
But at the same time, Gemini, here's the other side of it. Don't go bananas. Don't put the cart before the horse, because we do still have to eat. You have, like, don't be so, like, don't move to LA with $20, like, and don't expect that the world is going to fall at your feet just because you have a good Instagram. We still live in the physical world, and you have to survive.
Yeah.
And yet, follow your dreams, but stay in the car.
I like it. That's perfect. That's okay. That's a good balance. I think this is a really great opportunity for people to get more creative and a little bit more brave with what they're doing while they have a little time to look within. I'm really hoping that's what this whole series is about too, is like, just getting out of your own way and following what you love, whether or not it's like a baby step or a big step.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the beauty of Mother Nature, of the earth, putting us in the timeout chair, is we now have time. you know, are we getting paid loads of money? Some of us are furloughed. Some of us are waiting on our Trumpy check, whatever. I
Yeah.
don't care. This is a moment when we are more important than, how do I say it? I want to be really profound here, and I think I'm losing it. So I'm watching the lightning. I've lost it, Nicole.
It's okay. I get
I
what you're
lost my
saying.
thought.
I mean, yeah, we get a chance to focus on ourselves now for once, really more than
Yeah,
ever, I think.
yes, yes. It's a blessing because there's a diamond in every catastrophe. You know, there's something good comes out of every mess.
Yeah.
You
Always.
have to find the lesson in the craziness, or you'll go crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Well, I can't wait to see your new deck and all the things that you're cranking out and
Yes.
create with you and hop on more calls and see what we can inspire you to share with the world.
Yes. Let's check in again, and we'll do show and tell. I'll have
Yes,
show and tell stuff.
100%. Thank you so much for being on this call. I appreciate you. And I'll
Oh my
post it and
God.
share with you.
Thank you for putting up with my technical
Oh, it's okay.
savvy.
I didn't know how to fix it either. So we're in the same pod here. It's all
Well,
good.
we did it. We did it.
Okay. Thanks, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Okay. How do we turn this thing off?